Imagine this. You witness a car accident. A few days later, someone asks you, "Did you see the red car speed off?" Suddenly, in your memory, there was a red car. But here's the twist. There was no red car at all. This is the misinformation effect. It's one of the most fascinating and dangerous quirks of the human mind, and chances are, it's already influenced the way you remember your own past. Today, we're diving deep into the science of memory, how it's manipulated, and how your brain can rewrite reality without you even knowing it. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content that challenges your thinking, and be sure to watch this video all the way through, because what you'll learn today might forever change how you view your own memories. What is the misinformation effect? The misinformation effect occurs when post-event information interferes with the memory of the original event. In simple terms, your memory can be altered by what you learn or hear after the fact. This effect was first studied in the 1970s by psychologist Elizabeth Loftus. Her groundbreaking work showed that memories are not static. They are flexible, reconstructive, and often inaccurate. Think about that for a moment. The memories you trust to define your past, your childhood, relationships, beliefs, may have been quietly edited by outside influences. The famous car crash experiment, one of Loftus's most well-known studies, involved showing participants footage of a car accident. Afterward, she asked them a series of questions. But here's where it gets interesting. She used different verbs to describe the crash. Some participants were asked, "How fast were the cars going when they hit each other?" Others were asked, "How fast were they going when they smashed into each other?" The group that heard the word smashed estimated much higher speeds. Even more shockingly, they were more likely to report seeing broken glass, even though there was none. One single word changed their entire memory of the event. That's the power of language. And the vulnerability of human memory. How memory actually works. Most of us think of memory like a video camera, recording and storing events as they happened. But in reality, memory is more like a puzzle. When you recall something, your brain pieces it together based on fragments of sensory data, emotional states, and context. Every time you remember something, your brain reactivates the neural pathways tied to that memory. But here's the problem. During that process, the memory can be modified, often without you realizing it. This means you're not just remembering the past, you're reconstructing it. Over time, these reconstructions become the new reality in your mind. How the brain is vulnerable to misinformation. There are several reasons why our brains are so susceptible to the misinformation effect. First, human memory is highly influenced by language. The way a question is framed can shape how a memory is retrieved and interpreted. Second, emotions play a major role. Highly emotional events are more likely to be remembered, but also more likely to be distorted. Our brain fills in gaps to make the event feel coherent. Third, repetition cements misinformation. The more you hear something, even if it's false, the more likely you are to believe it's true. This is known as the illusion of truth effect. Lastly, the credibility of the source matters. If someone you trust tells you a detail about your past, you're more likely to accept it, even if it's incorrect. Real-world impact. Eyewitness testimony. One of the most concerning consequences of the misinformation effect is its impact on the criminal justice system. Eyewitness testimony has been a cornerstone of legal trials for decades. But studies show that eyewitness accounts are often deeply flawed, especially when witnesses are exposed to leading questions, news reports, or even casual conversations after the event. In fact, mistaken eyewitness identification is one of the leading causes of wrongful convictions. People have gone to prison, even death row, because someone genuinely believed they saw something that never happened. These aren't lies. These are memories rewritten by suggestion. Misinformation in the media. The misinformation effect doesn't just happen in courtrooms. It happens every day in the media. And now more than ever, on social media. During major news events, people are bombarded with images, speculation, and analysis. Often, false information circulates widely before the truth is confirmed. And once we've absorbed that false information, it can become embedded in our memory. Even after the misinformation is corrected, our brains don't always update the original memory. Instead, we cling to the first version we heard. That's why fake news is so powerful and so hard to undo. Your personal life and false memories, you've likely experienced the misinformation effect in your own life. Have you ever had an argument with a friend or family member where you both remembered the same event completely differently? That's not because one of you is lying. It's because memory is subjective and vulnerable. Maybe your parents told you a story from your childhood so many times that you feel like you remember it, even though you were too young. Or maybe you've told a story so often that you've unconsciously changed details to make it sound better. Over time, those edits become the version you believe. The Mandela effect and collective false memories. The misinformation effect can also influence large groups of people. This is known as the Mandela effect, when a large number of people remember something one way, even though it's incorrect. For example, many people remember the Monopoly man wearing a monocle. He doesn't. Others swear they remember a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad as a genie, a movie that never existed. These collective false memories are a striking example of how widespread and powerful misinformation can be. How to defend yourself. So how can you protect your mind from the misinformation effect? First, be mindful of how you receive information. Be skeptical of leading questions, emotionally charged statements, or information that comes from unreliable sources. Second, when something important happens in your life, write it down. Journaling helps preserve the original version of your experience before it can be distorted. Third, question your assumptions. Just because you remember something vividly doesn't mean it happened that way. Be open to the possibility that your memory might be wrong, even if it feels true. Fourth, avoid reinforcing false memories. Don't repeat stories or rumors you're unsure about. Each repetition makes them feel more real, to you and to others. And finally, educate yourself about how memory works. Understanding your mind is the first step in protecting it. The misinformation effect is a humbling reminder that the human brain, as powerful as it is also deeply flawed. Our memories shape our identity, our beliefs, and our decisions. But they are not infallible. They can be edited, distorted, and even entirely fabricated. Knowing this isn't a weakness. It's a strength. It allows us to move through life with more humility, empathy, and awareness. When we understand how our mind works, we can stop being prisoners of false memories and start living with clearer, more conscious intent. If this message resonated with you, consider subscribing to the channel. Share this video with someone who still believes memory never lies. They may thank you later, and leave a comment below. Have you ever remembered something so clearly, only to find out it never happened? Thanks for spending this time with me. Stay curious and always question what you think you know.